All right.
We'll see how this goes.
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Chat.
Shh.
Chat pulled up. There it is.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna see if it's probably live streaming right now, and we'll see how it works out. But I'm about to tweet the
Where
live
would it be
show out.
live streaming? Twitter?
No, on YouTube.
Nice.
Well, if I did it right, we shall find out.
So it'd be on our Prime account, right?
Right on the.
Mm-hmm. It's
But
live.
I'm fixing to tweet it out now, so we'll see who jumps on here.
Yeah, it's live.
All right. Excellent. Well, we'll see what happens here. I mean, right now I guess it's live streaming. Are you seeing anything on there? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Excellent.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
uh,
We'll get
I-
going here in a couple minutes.
all right. Well, I guess people, if anybody, I don't see any viewers right now, so I think we're safe. But and I am recording it too, so I'll be able to throw up an edited version later on. So that'll be cool. And I don't know if there's any kind of delay or anything. We'll find out.
Seems like a couple seconds. So
Yeah. Well, the latency of internet connection speeds or something, I guess.
we will see. We will see.
All right. Well, let me know when you want to count down, or do you want to wait on Dave? What do you want to do?
We'll wait for Dave. We'll
Okay,
still
cool.
wait for Dave and
Well, then
bring Dave in.
I'm gonna have a sip on my mini Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and I guess we can figure out later on. We'll just get it closer and closer, and we'll go live once we get everybody on. Or
Well, I'm kind of just experimenting with this time. I went ahead and enabled everything, so that's most of what I could do right now was get
well, I like
everything
it.
enabled, and I
We're
suppose
live,
for
ATL Prime Sports listeners.
this is the pre-show show for anybody who wants to. Anybody who is checking in.
Yeah,
I've
please
already chatted something up in there, but no
follow
one
us
else
at
is.
ATL Prime Sports, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I said, we'll see how
Max
this.
Chisholm with the hit right there. Braves up 8-4, bottom of the fourth.
I
Chad Stratton Jr.
spent a lot.
definitely on my fantasy baseball team, having a good year so far.
Yeah.
2-2 in the league.
Well, my Maple Leafs really are beginning to feel like my Maple Leafs again after that first game of that second round. It was not what I wanted.
Don't worry about it too much. It's just game one. NHL turns on a dime, as we all know.
Yeah, and even though I'm wearing my Texas hat, it's almost unreal that they let the Diamondbacks score so many points in that game.
Nice. Well,
The Diamondbacks were my underdog pick, though. So, or dark horse pick, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, you've nailed them both on the head right now with
Well, I don't know. I also picked New York and St. Louis, and neither one of those teams are worth a dang right now. I mean, I don't know what's going on with those teams. Unexpected. Pirates, kind of a surprise, but maybe not if you're a Pirates fan.
I said the biggest. I telling you, the Pirates. Yeah, I mean, unless you're our friend of the show, Mark Mancini,
Yeah.
who's been calling it from Mount Everest for a year. But yeah, I mean, you look in the AL West, Texas, 18-12, very big surprise there. 2 games up, and So far they've been hit or miss with DeGrom, who just went to the IL, so
Yeah.
hopefully he can come back and it's
Well,
not a lingering issue.
I think the 15th of this month we start a 3-game series with Atlanta in Arlington. If I got that date right, I think I got it right.
Yeah, I think you do. I'll double check, but I am almost certain you are correct on that. Let's see. Braves Rangers the 14th,
For
excuse me, the 15th, 16th, 17th of
Yeah,
this month.
right. And that's after they wrap up, hopefully beating on the Athletics 4 games, sweeping that series because Athletics is one of the teams I don't really care for. And don't ask me why because I have no idea. I think it's memories of what happened in the '90s and 2000s.
They're moving to Vegas.
Well, well, I kind of tweeted out a funny picture of what baseball in Vegas will look like for the first couple of years, or what football in Vegas will look like for the first couple of years, because I think they're going to be sharing a facility, so we're going to be doing those throwbacks to the old days where you've got the baseball diamond on the football field. I think unless they play at some other facility. All right, there's Dave.
There's Dave coming on in. We'll get this show started.
All right.
Hey,
What's
good
up?
evening,
Well,
Dave. Good to have you on. How you doing, man?
And I'm still here.
yeah. All right. We enjoy having you. I've been keeping up with you on the Twitter over there as much as I can with the baseball season kind of going as it's going.
Oh yeah, I'm off from them this weekend. They're headed out to Texas.
All
So
right.
I only travel with them sometimes, but not when they fly. So
Yeah. Well, that's I can't remember the last time I flew. I think I flew up to New Jersey was where we landed at, right there in that one that's right across the river from New York. Newark.
LaGuardia.
Yeah,
Oh,
Newark.
Newark.
We landed in Newark. That's a pretty big airport.
Yeah. Well, with football and basketball, I travel everywhere with them. But with baseball, college baseball is just such a blip on the screen in Atlanta.
Yeah.
JJ, you know that.
Yeah,
So
unfortunate. A lot of talent around here too.
yeah, but
So
there's just so much going on. I mean, I'll go over to Athens. I did that game a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago. Go to Kennesaw, sometimes go to Mercer. I'm going to go to the conference tournament if we make it, but I don't fly anywhere with them.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to go down there to Mercer, though. Do they let you ride on the bus, or do you have to drive down there yourself?
It depends upon I can do either.
Okay. Well, you can get out of there probably a lot quicker if you're on your own vehicle.
Yeah, then I can stop where I want to stop and eat and
Yeah.
you know. So,
All right. Well, if you're ready, JJ, I'll go ahead and count us down, and we
yeah,
can
let's
begin
start this thing off
the
and
official beginning.
you guys
we'll,
are going to talk a little bit before you get to me, right?
yep.
Probably, but this is actually streaming live on YouTube right now, and so I mean, when I edit it, I'll go ahead and do all that stuff. But for the start, you'll be on there. So I
Okay.
guess behave yourself. Don't do any Gene Simmons moves or nothing. All right. Well, here we go. We're gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports, a live edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is the one, the only Wayne Ridenauer in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee. You can find us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify as well. You can find us personally on Twitter at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at Quarter Todd for TC Todd Quarter, who's out umpiring some games tonight, and at LG for real though for Larry Gardner, who is doing his job being the public address announcer for the Rome Braves. How are we doing? I'm doing great. Not as well as 76ers center Joel Embiid, who was named the NBA's MVP for 2023. He finished ahead of Denver's Jokic, receiving 73 of the 100 votes. Embiid finished second behind Jokic the previous 2 years, so got a little bit of the best of them this year. I'm doing pretty well. Wayne, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. The NASCAR race that was up there in Dover this weekend, Ross Chastain came so close to winning, but Martin Truex won. Everybody likes Martin Truex, so that's not such a bad thing.
When everybody likes a driver,
Yeah.
everybody wins. What's on tap for today's show? We have Dave Cohen joining us from Georgia State, talking everything Georgia State. Grading the Falcons draft a week after, and we'll talk and chop with the Atlanta Braves. So without further ado, we welcome the voice of the Georgia State Panthers and friend of the show, Dave Cohen. Dave, good to have you back on. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a while since I've been on ATL Prime Sports with you guys. You mentioned the Falcons real quick. Some late breaking news that I found out on Twitter. Former Georgia State receiver Penny Hart, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, apparently signing a one-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. So great news. He'll be the first Georgia State kid to be playing for the hometown
All right.
Falcons. So that's good news.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
that was actually where my first question was. So great segue is tell our listeners about Penny Hart and what the Falcons fans can expect from him. Played throughout 39 games in 3 years with Seattle. He had a handful of catches, a handful of yards, and played a big deal on special teams out there. But tell everybody about Penny Hart and what the Atlanta Falcons will get with Mr. Hart.
Well, from the Georgia State standpoint, he's one of the all-time greats in what is the very short history of Georgia State football, along with Robert Davis and Albert Wilson. Penny Hart, one of the top three all-time wide receivers in Georgia State football history. So I was so happy a few years ago when he made the Seattle Seahawks roster as an undrafted free agent and was able to stick with the Seahawks for the last couple of years, a couple of 3 years. And I saw him and Chandon Sullivan, who just signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a couple of times during the college basketball season. They came back and they were down at the GSU Convocation Center catching some Panther basketball. I didn't know at the time that he was not going to return to the Seahawks, but yeah, you're talking about a guy that can really go get the football. At least he could in college. I don't know how much of an opportunity with what the Seahawks had that he had to really show what he could do as a receiver. But from the Falcons' standpoint, I think that they're looking to utilize him as a special teams type player, at least initially. So, how cool is it, again, for him to be able to come back after starting his career in the NFL in Seattle, all the way on the other side of the country and come back, get a workout with the Falcons, and then apparently, according to the reports, sign that one-year deal. I'm happy for him, and hopefully it works out with the Falcons. It's a great story.
Indeed, it is. Excited to have him here. Excited to have, as you mentioned, the first Georgia State player to play for the local professional team. So exciting there. You're listening to Dave Cohen right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can find Dave on Twitter at GA State Voice. Let's keep on the football theme. I mean, we all love football here in the South. It's its own religion. Spring football ended early for Georgia State, actually one of the first schools to finish their spring practice. Tell us what Coach Elliott thought of the spring practice in general overall and some good position battles that were won or lost during that time.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that anything was won or lost definitively coming out of spring. They made the decision to move spring practice up this year. Uh, for the expressed intent of having more time on the back end to work with a new strength and conditioning coach that Coach Elliott has brought in. There was no sense really in putting it off. So they started early. They ended early. They ended Georgia State spring practice and spring game was over before many college football teams even hit the field for spring practice. But just because spring practice is over, that doesn't mean that the job is over. It's not like they're taking the summer off. A lot of work being done on the field with regards to getting that chemistry. We lost a number of players to the transfer portal, some key players to the transfer portal. A lot of new faces, as is the case with a lot of college football teams. The transfer portal has totally changed the game. Um, and so I think that when we get to fall practice, all of the work that they did during spring, all the work that they're doing currently, both on the field and in the strength and conditioning center, the weight room, with again a brand new strength and conditioning coach. I think we're going to see a little bit different look from Georgia State by the time they hit the field with Coach Elliott for fall practice. A number of transfers have come in. Um, the last couple of 3 years, Georgia State's been one of the top running teams in the country with Tucker Gregg and with Jamias Williams running behind what has been for the last, not so much this year, but for the last 2-3 years prior to this past season, an experienced and a offensive line that had really good chemistry because the guys basically grew up in the program together. A lot of those faces have moved on, whether it's been graduation, whether it has been transfer portal, and I'm talking both really offensively and on the defensive side of the line. So, what has Coach Elliott and his staff done? They've gone out. You got to play the portal game now, and you're going to lose kids, and you got to go out and get kids. Rosters are going to look different to some extent, more so from year to year moving forward than they have in the past because of the portal and because of the ability of players, for whatever reason, to announce that they're going to seek to play in a greener pasture. And that's certainly in our little world hit Georgia State pretty hard this year. I think we lost some really good players. We lost some players to graduation as well. Both of our running backs, Tucker Gregg, Jamias Williams, moving on. Jamias getting an invitation to the Green Bay Packers rookie camp. So congratulations to him. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Tucker gets an opportunity as well, the way he was able to run the ball the last couple of years. But, on both sides of the ball, a number of new faces, whether they came in as a freshman, whether they came in as a junior college transfer, or whether they came in as a Division I transfer portal kid. Going to be a lot of competition, but I know that right now on both sides of the football on the offensive line, the key is getting those lines set as soon as they can with regards to who your go-to guys are going to be, who the backups are going to be, and starting to build and develop some chemistry the way they were able to do that, really, other than maybe this year, finishing 4-8.
Wayne's got a basketball question for you. Wayne, go ahead. Tip it
Well,
off, man.
you had mentioned that transfer portal, and I just wanted to ask you a general question. Do you think that the fact that especially in tournament, you could really see that there was a lot more parity in NCAA basketball this year than there has been in the past? Do you think the transfer portal had a lot to do with that? That these players that may not have gotten a chance to come off the bench actually got to start at some places and push those teams beyond where they normally would have gone in the tournament?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think we're starting to see, Florida Atlantic's a really good example. Everything they were able to do this year,
Yeah.
but in the long run, and Georgia State is experiencing this about, I don't know, 40-60 right now with the way we have been affected basketball wise by the transfer portal. We just lost two of our best players to the transfer portal in the last 3 weeks. Now they haven't landed anywhere that I know, but that will hurt us because Jonas Hayes and his staff are going to have to go out and replace the two that we lost with two that are, let's say, equally as good or better. But what worries me a little bit about the transfer portal, whether we're talking about college basketball or college football, is that I hope it doesn't relegate what we call Group of Five, the mid-major conferences, the Sun Belt Conference USA,
Yeah.
MAC, the Mountain West, even the American Athletic. I hope that doesn't begin to see a trend where every year the Power Five schools, ACC, SEC, Pac-10, Big 12, Big 12, so on. I hope that they don't. The first thing they do at the end of the year is meet in a conference room individually and say, hey, let's scour the rosters of the Group of Five. Let's look at who the best players are on each team in each conference, and we're going to target those players to transfer to a school that can provide maybe more resources. And of course, I'm talking name, image, likeness dollars,
Right.
which certainly flow much more and faster in the Power Five than they do at the Group of Five level.
Yeah.
Everything I hear from Group of Five programs, even in the Sun Belt, is, we've got to begin to develop some sort of NIL program so that our best players on our own team and in our own conference are not getting poached every single year by SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12 programs. You don't want to see Group of Five get relegated to what we'll call AAA baseball in relation to Major League Baseball. And I'm afraid that it may end up going that way, whether the Group of Five can come up with some NIL money to offer or not.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that, similar to, if you're going to call a meeting like that, you might as well call it the cherry pick meeting, because they're going to be going around and cherry picking all these smaller conferences. But I think the smaller conferences can get just as savvy and try to find these players that they think have a lot of talent but aren't getting the chance to start. And you could tell them, hey, we're on a lot more TV than we used to be. We've got some NIL money, but if you're looking to, display your talents or whatever, this might be a good option, and you'll get to start and actually be on the field.
Well, you've heard the saying, two ships passing in the night, right?
Yeah.
So one ship is called Power Five ship. And on that ship are the cream of the crop Group of Five players that have entered the transfer portal, and they're looking for NIL money. They're looking to play on national television. They're looking to be in a program that could potentially play for a national championship. That's the Power Five ship.
Yeah.
The ship that's going the other way is the Group of Five ship. And the players that are on that ship with regards to transfer portal are you're right, Wayne and JJ, the players that are on Power Five rosters that have been recruited over. They're not getting much, if any, playing time. And they reach a point where, hey, it's cool to be on the roster of this Power Five school, but I'm a rising junior and I haven't barely seen the field, or I've barely seen the court. And while it's cool to play in these big arenas and these big stadiums, after 2 years of sitting and watching, I want to get on the field. I want to get on the court. I want to play. So on the Group of Five ship, you got two ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
Are the players who have decided that a season or two at the Power Five, recognizing that they've been recruited over, they're probably not going to figure into the plans of the school that they're at, and they start to look elsewhere. And for many of them, they're going to get an opportunity if they handle it right and they identify the right program and the right school. Then they could transfer from Power Five to a Group of Five and come in and make a major impact.
Yep.
And that's the Power Five ship that's passing that's the Group of Five ship that's passing the Power Five ship. So it really does run both ways. You just don't know what you're going to get. The Power Five school knows they're getting a cream of the crop kid from the Group of Five, one of the better players at that program in that conference. What the Group of Five school is getting on a kid who's transferring from the Power Five. Okay, so he was recruited Power Five coming out of high school, but he really hasn't developed the last year or two because he hasn't been able to get on the field or the court. So you don't really know yet.
Right.
Dave, that was a great comparison, and you nailed it right on the head, as you usually do. Transfer portal, now it's a couple years under our belt. It really is changing the dynamics of college basketball and football. I'm going to flip it over to the baseball side. Georgia State's had a pretty decent season overall, 24-22, 11-10 in Sun Belt play. Winners of 4 of 5, including a win over the Bulldogs from Athens about a week ago. Dave, this is how you want to be playing going to the final handful of conference games left. What are the Panthers' what are the Panthers' chances moving forward in the conference tournament?
Well, I think the last time I was on with you guys, we were talking about how the additions of the 4 new schools, Southern Miss, Old Dominion, James Madison, and Marshall have really changed the game and really upped everybody's game in football and basketball. It's kind of done the same in baseball as well, other than Marshall. Marshall is still a program that's young and developing their baseball program. They still don't have their own home field yet, but it's a 14-team baseball league. Coastal Carolina, if you got the standings there, sitting atop the league with 28 wins. Southern Miss, one of the newcomers, right behind them. Old Dominion's middle of the pack, and then JMU and Marshall are towards the bottom. But it's a 14-team league, and only the top 10 are going to advance to Montgomery to the Sun Belt Conference baseball tournament. Unlike basketball, where everybody goes to the tournament, only the top 10 go. So there's 4 that's going to be left home. Georgia State's coming off a sweep of Marshall. Marshall's dead last in the league. We beat them in all 3 games last weekend here in Atlanta. Those were 3 must-win games because Georgia State has the toughest final 3 conference series going down the stretch. They're going to play at Texas State this weekend. Texas State is currently, as I look at the standings, they're currently 4th in the league. Then Georgia State comes home next weekend for a 3-game series against Georgia Southern, which is always a competitive 3-game weekend series. And then they're going to close out the regular season on the road at Old Dominion. And Old Dominion's 28-15 and 11-10. So they've got 3 tough series in front of them in order to secure one of those top 10 spots. Right now, Georgia State is sitting at number 9, just behind South Alabama and just ahead of James Madison. So 24 wins and a 24-22 record. Again, a game above 500. Lost at Vanderbilt on Tuesday night up in Nashville. But you're right, they've won 4 of 5. Georgia State can hit with the best of them. 89 home runs this year so far. Where Georgia State is vulnerable is when you get past the starting pitchers and you get into those middle relievers and at times in late game relief situations, depending on who you're playing and what kind of bats you're facing. It can be a little dicey. You can have nights like we had over in Athens last Tuesday night and getting out of Athens with a win over Georgia, 9-7. Great job closing that one out. But you also have situations where Georgia State has given up walk-off runs, walk-off home runs, in the 9th inning this year. There's probably about 4 to 6 games out there that they woulda, coulda, shoulda won, including a Friday night series opener at Clemson that they led going right into the 9th inning and lost on a walk-off home run. So they're certainly capable, but it is a very, Sun Belt is a very good baseball league, especially in the upper echelon of the league. The top 5 to top 7, 8 programs are solid basically every year. Again, Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, Georgia Southern, Texas State, Appalachian State, Troy, Old Dominion, Louisiana Lafayette, they all have been solid baseball programs now for numbers of years. Brad Stromdahl, in my opinion, has done a really good job in his 4 years with Georgia State. Where it will change the game for Georgia State is when we get that new stadium built on the site of the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium property. If you look around the Sun Belt, almost every, other than Marshall right now, every Sun Belt school has a really nice baseball facility. And we just don't have that yet. When we do, that'll even the game a little bit, for lack of a better term. But right now, Brad Stromdahl does really good with what he's got in the facility that we're playing in. And it's going to be interesting these next 3 weeks as we head down the stretch in Sun Belt baseball conference regular season play, how we do at Texas State this weekend, with Georgia Southern next weekend, and then at Old Dominion to see if we can secure one of those top 10 spots and head to Montgomery for the tournament.
Well, Dave, that'll do it for us. Tell our listeners how to catch the last few games of the Panthers baseball season and how they can interact with you on Twitter.
Well, again, as you said, I'm at GA State Voice. If anybody wants to follow Georgia State baseball, basketball, football, just keep up with the program on a daily and weekly basis. All of our home games are ESPN Plus. We have a select schedule that are on the radio on 97.5 FM WGTJ out of Gainesville. We also stream on the GSU Athletics mobile app. And, of course, you can always get the latest at georgiastatesports.com. So looking forward to it. Our next baseball on the radio is next Tuesday afternoon against the Wofford Terriers at 4 o'clock from the GSU Baseball Complex. And we'll be on radio for that one. And then we'll be on all weekend as Georgia Southern comes into Atlanta next weekend.
Well, Dave, we'll be looking forward to the call. Thanks for joining us. And as always, have a good one, my friend.
You too. JJ, good to see you again. Wayne, good to see you guys again. And we'll do it again soon. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Absolutely. Anytime. Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers. Always a pleasure. Let's move on with ATL Prime Sports. We thought we were gonna we thought we were gonna get this guy. We thought we were gonna get that guy last week on the draft pre-show. I wasn't there, obviously. But the Falcons, we talked about it with Dave Cohen, bringing in Penny Hart. Let's talk about the Falcons draft. Let's give our grades, Wayne. Let's have a little fun with this thing. The schedule release is next week. That's a little snippet. I think it's May 11th, they said. So we'll find out who the Falcons are lining up against this fall. But let's talk about these draft grades of the Atlanta Falcons. First off, I do want to say that this is a content grabber. I don't think you can really draft or grade a draft until year 2 or 3 at the earliest. So this is for pure content for our ATL Prime Sports listeners. Please follow at ATL Prime Sports. Like, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You know the deal. But folks, let's talk about it. I think the draft went pretty well, Wayne. I do. I think the Falcons addressed their defensive needs in the offseason with free agency. They spent a ton of money, around $80 million, something like that. Fine, I'm no math major, but they spent a ton of money on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in guys like Calais Campbell to mentor guys like Lorenzo Carter re-signed. So they spent the money, brought a couple guys over from New Orleans. They signed Jesse Bates. So I felt like they did a good enough job to where they could draft offense, and they did. They went Bijan Robinson out of Texas, and they're going to try and run the ball. They drafted Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. The guy played Canadian football growing up. Very athletic guy. Played left tackle, right tackle, guard, and he does figure to play guard in Atlanta. So a plug-and-play guy. Hopefully this isn't a Jalen Mayfield again, where a guy moving positions really didn't work out very well for Atlanta last year. In the third round, you get Zach Harrison, the defensive end, the edge rusher out of Ohio State. Really good at getting his hands up in the air, batting balls down, and only 3.5 sacks as most in his the most he had in a year at Ohio State. But he's raw. He's one of the top high school recruits coming out. And I fully expect the Falcons to develop that talent again with Calais Campbell to mentor a guy like Zach Harrison. I really love the 4th-round pick, Clark Phillips out of Utah, a unanimous All-American at one point. Guy's a ball-seeking missile, will get some interceptions, and will add depth to that defensive backfield. Then you got Helms out of Alabama, and you got Gwynn out of South Carolina. The whole entire roster, draft class, I should say, Power 5 football players. So top of the chain guys. And this Gwynn, the offensive guard out of South Carolina, I really like who he battled against. You look at guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis out of Georgia. He battled with these guys for 3 or 4 years there. So he has that talent, and he also has the competitive edge playing in the SEC. So I really like the Falcons draft. If you're grading it, I'd give it a B+. I think Bijan Robinson was the best player at 8. I know the Falcons, everybody's mad. They didn't take Jalen Carter. Folks, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean weren't necessarily everyday players for the Eagles last year. We'll see what they do in year 2. But just because they played at Georgia and won the national championship doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be that good in the NFL. Time will tell on this draft, as I said to start it off. But I think it's a B+. I'm giving it a good grade. I'm optimistic as a Falcons fan. You're giving Ritter all the tools needed to succeed. You gave him the guard in Bergeron. You gave him the extra running back in Robinson. And folks say, why the extra running back? Here's why. Cordell Patterson's 32. Yeah. Maybe you can flip him out into the slot here, Wayne, and give him some wide receiver reps. Algier was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. You have a 1-2-3 punch. Guys can be fresh for all 17 games. And let's face it, you need 3 or 4 running backs in the running back room to get through the season now, Wayne. So I'll throw it to you, man. What do you say? What did you think about the draft overall as a Falcons fan yourself?
Well, I'm with you with the B+ on that. One thing I will tell you about the draft, and I don't know why I forget this every year. All of the months, it felt like months that everybody was predicting what was going to happen. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, except for maybe the first 2 picks. And everything else after that, it just different than what everybody expected. So we'll see what happens. But on the other side of that coin, I would say that it looks like the University of Georgia kind of did an A+ on the draft. They got a lot of guys in there.
Yeah, no, I think there was 10
Yeah,
drafted again. That makes 25 players in 2 years from UGA. Hats off to Kirby Smart. He's got a program built that's putting out NFL talent. It's a call it an NFL ATM
yeah,
down there in Athens. You just go down there, withdraw a defensive end, withdraw a cornerback, Keely Ringo. You withdraw another defensive tackle in Jalen Carter, linebacker and Nolan Smith. So yeah, it's really becoming an ATM for the NFL talent down there in Athens, and that's just a testament to how good of a coach Kirby Smart is and what he's doing with the transfer portal, the NIL, and all the obstacles that a college football coach has. But twisting it back to the ATL and the Falcons, I do like the draft, folks. Tell us what you think at ATL Prime Sports. We are live right now on the old YouTube. If you like us, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and please follow us. Whatever you got to do, we do this for fun as a hobby, and we'd enjoy a couple followers. So we'd appreciate it. Wayne, any final thoughts on the Falcons draft grade before we move on to the Atlanta Bravos?
well, it's only going to make me more excited for the beginning of the NFL season.
Yeah, it is. The NFL does a really good job of stringing their events out throughout the year with the Super Bowl ending in February. About a month and a half later, you're like, man, I'm juicing for some
Yeah,
football, and all of a sudden draft is here.
yeah,
Oh, well then, what else can we do? Schedule release. Why not? We'll do it a month later.
right.
Then next month or two, rookie mini camp. Then you have OTAs and you got training camp. So then the next thing you know, you're back into football season, and it's really been a year-round thing. So Roger Goodell's done a really good job of gaining viewership throughout the year with highlighting events like the schedule release, like the NFL draft, and they've done a wonderful job knocking it out the park. So my final thought on the NFL. Let's move over to the Atlanta Braves in the Major League Baseball. Braves are 20-10, currently up 13-4 on the Marlins, so that might get the 21st win of the season under our belts. Currently tied with the Pirates for the best record in the National League. They also lead the NL East by 3.5 games. Let's talk chop about these Bravos and what the future might hold. First off, we got to talk about the four problems. Good problems Ryan Snicker has. And the first one is who plays left field? You got a lot of guys that can do it. The way Rosario has been swinging the bat the last week, 7 days or so, he's got 5 RBIs in that span. Pilar, Hilliard, they've been patrolling left field and right field, center field like a freaking policeman. Nothing's getting by them. You can't even get a little, something in your pocket, get out the store. No, sir. Pilar and Hilliard are there. They're playing gold glove caliber outfield right now. They're raking at the plate when they get their opportunities. And they're good. But fortunately, the Braves have several good options. So it's a good problem to have. That's good problem number one. And don't look now, but Marcell Ozuna has got 2 home runs in the Wednesday game this evening as we speak. One a grand slam, one a solo shot. And boy, you'll see all the highlights across ESPN of it. It was a moonshot down there in Miami. So Ozuna's starting to swing the bat well. Again, I mentioned Rosario, Pilar, Hilliard. It's going to be a fun outfield for Brian Snicker and the Atlanta Braves moving forward. But Michael Harris did just looks like he may have hurt himself going into first base on a fielder's choice there. We'll have to play that one by ear, look at the Braves Twitter feed, but it did not look good. Kyle Wright also went out today in the second inning facing a Marlins team. Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, did not look happy, and that brings us to our second problem. Is who mans the back end of this starting rotation, Wayne? I'm going out of order from the rundown. We're going to have fun with this thing. Who mans the back end of that starting rotation, Wayne? You got Bryce Elder. He's 3-0, $1.75 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. Has earned his spot with those numbers right there. Soroka not doing so hot in AAA in his last start. Let's read this stat line from Soroka. 3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 8 runs, only 1 K, and he beaned 2 batters. So Soroka has not earned that 5th spot yet. Bryce Elder's there, but with, I just mentioned it, Kyle Wright going down, it's a good problem yet again where you do have a guy like Soroka with previous Major League Baseball experience to slide right in if he does get his control and everything down, which he had a couple good outings and then a bad end. Kind of how it goes. So the point is, another good problem to have. Snicker's got someone down there in AAA that can filter in and maybe get a start or two until Wright's back. We don't know what's wrong with him as of right now. He was taken out of the game in the second inning again earlier tonight, Wednesday night. So that's problem number 2. Good problem number 2 to have for Brian Snitker. Good problem number 3 to have, Wayne. It's going to be the catcher situation when d'Arnaud comes back, because you have Sean Murphy, who's raking at the plate, having a career year projected-wise in the home run department, had a multi-home run game the other day. But when d'Arnaud makes his return, Snitker has another great problem. Look, and it's going to make it hard to fill out this lineup card every night for Brian Snitker. He's going to have to really think matchup-wise, lefty-righty, who's going to fit where. At this moment, you could plug and play. If d'Arnaud's the DH, put in Murphy as the catcher and vice versa. So, but now you throw a wrench into the thing. Grissom's hitting the ball extremely well. Do you keep him up in the big leagues as a DH and help you win games, or do you really develop his talent at shortstop in AAA and put him down and let him play every day? Justin talked about that on the show last week, Justin Toscano from the AJC. But I really wanted to ask him that last week, but that's a serious problem, a good problem to have. And then the fourth problem is again, it comes down to shortstop when Arcia comes back. What do you do there? And the easy answer, this is the easiest one, that's why I saved it for last. You're going to put Arcia there. Grissom had another error in Wednesday night's game against Miami, a throwing error on a routine ground ball, overthrew Matt Olson yet again. So that's 5 errors in 17 games this year for Grissom. So Arcia will be your everyday shortstop, and that's where that problem comes in. Again, a good problem to have, Wayne, when you're this deep, and Justin talked about that last week on ATL Prime Sports, just how deep this roster is. Not necessarily from 1 to 26, but from 27 to 40 down to the minor league system of Gwinnett. This team is stacked and loaded. Wayne, what do you have to say about Major League Baseball in general? I know you're going to go with the comment maybe with Texas, or do you have a comment about these Atlanta Braves who are playing extremely well right now?
Well, I hadn't been paying as much attention to the Atlanta Braves as my mom and my aunt have, because they watch just about every game and talk on the phone with each other during the games. But Atlanta has their Pirates to deal with, and Texas has the Tampa Bays to deal with, and they played Arizona, and Arizona just brought the bats. There's nothing we can do about it. Oh, starting pitcher, 5 runs scored on him. Then they throw in the relief pitchers, and they're still scoring runs. So, I mean, you have to throw the ball over the plate. You can't walk everybody. And when they bring the bats like that, what can you do? Maybe try to field a little bit, but we'll see what happens in the next 2 games against Arizona.
It'll be fun to watch what the Texas Rangers do going down the stretch. Spent a lot of money the last couple seasons. The fans want something in return. New stadium, beautiful stadium, Globe Life Park. Got to see it firsthand the first year. Go check it out, folks, if you haven't seen it. Globe Life in Arlington, great ballpark. Nice and air conditioning in the hot Texas sun out there. Well, that wraps up our Braves talk. Again, 4 good problems to have for Brian Snitker. Tough to fill out the lineup card, especially with Marcell Ozuna's hot streak right now. Can Marcell stay in Miami? That is the question, and bring that bat that he had down here in Miami up to Atlanta with him. It's going to really make the lineup card that much deeper. Let's go to our final thought, Wayne, shall we? My final thought, the NBA playoffs continue as we move to the second round in the East. The Eastern semifinals are set. Knicks, the 5 seed, 8 seed Heat tied up at 1, game 3 Saturday in Miami at 3:30 on the old ABC. The Heat are minus 125, slight favorite to win the series as an 8th seed, which is pretty incredible. The other series in the East, Sixers up 1-0 on the Celtics, kind of shockingly there, as Embiid was out in game 1. He will play game 2, the MVP will. And that just tipped off as we tipped the show off tonight in Boston. Celtics heavy favorites in that one, minus 180, despite dropping game 1 to win the series. These are all per Caesars, of course, and the times are Eastern Standard Time. West, Nuggets up 2-0 over the Suns, the 4-seed Suns. Game 3, Friday night in Phoenix, 8 p.m. on TNT. Nuggets huge favorites there, minus 350 to win that series. Lakers up 1-0 on the 6-seed Warriors. Game 2, Thursday night on ESPN. And the Lakers are a slight favorite, minus 165 to win the series per Caesars. That's my final thought. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. They've been wide open, as Larry said a couple weeks ago. Fun to watch. I hate to see your Memphis Grizzlies get eliminated, but LeBron and AD are hot, and they're putting on a show. They really are. Wayne, what's your final thought for the evening?
Well, my final thought is going to be a general attending sporting events request. I really am getting tired of the cha-cha slide. When the PA announcer comes on the intercom and he tells everybody to clap their hands, don't do it. Just let's stop. The chicken dance, I'm cool with the chicken dance. Let's do that. But I'm no more cha-cha slide. No more clapping your hands.
Chicken dance, cool.
Yeah.
Cha-cha slide, out. I can dig it. I like the chicken dance. The chicken dance is fun. And listen to Wayne. He's a great fan. Listen to him. Things work out. Well, folks, that wraps it up for Wayne in Memphis. I'm JJ. Thanks for tuning in to ATL Prime Sports. We'll see you next week. Get you one.